Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the third episode for Learn to Unlearn. This is Luca Mino. Without coffee, no, this is not going to work. I got to go get my coffee. Rolling. Take two. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Luca Mino. This is the third episode of Learn to Unlearn with coffee. Hope everybody's doing good today. Now I can start my show with the recap. What I wanted to do was do a recap of shows 1 and 2, just to let people know what was going on. In the first show, it was kind of like an introduction to me and to the show and what it was for. And we'll speak about, stuff like that in the beginning of most of these shows when I do them. We touched on the need for education to expose and to arm people as much as possible. And we can achieve success, by the way. So what the series is going to do is going to chronicle my way back to health, creator willing, and I'm going to share it every step of the way. We'll see what happens. Show 2 introduces us to the Rockefeller evil, I call it, the evil of petrochemicals and the connection to all our dis-eases today. Dis, star, ease, because that's what it is. It's the opposite of ease. Oh, I thought that was pretty cool. I love words. Dis-ease. And also why. We're going to expose more and more as we go along. And all that, plus letting you in on my last oncology visit recently, and to let you know how that just went horribly wrong. The second show also touched on what Natural News calls chemical warfare on humanity. And I'll attempt to explain what all that means and how that all ties into everything. And it's a big web that we're all tangled in right now. So hang on and buckle up, and welcome to the third show. Welcome back. What we said in the first and second show, and what we're probably going to keep repeating all the time, is resonance, paying attention to something that resonates with you when it does, when you hear or when you see or when you feel or when you read something. Like for me, listening to Sinead O'Connor singing the anthem of the Irish, it's called the Rebel Song. That's what gives me goosebumps everywhere, and when we have goosebumps, I can hear the men in the audience going, oh, yeah, that's just, that's just draft or cold air. Somebody left the window open or something, right? But when you feel that way, when you feel connected, when you hear Native American songs and you just, you get shivers everywhere and you feel all that warmth and stuff, what that is you're connecting to your spirit. That's what I believe. It's a gentle reminder that you're on the right track. And that's what it was for me. And I notice that a lot of times you'll hear me on this show saying that we have to listen to ourselves. And that's a big thing for me, because it was about listening to what I need and what's going on and what the body wants. And a lot of people are just saying, no, that's just nonsense. And everybody argues. They listen, they hear the intuition, some of them, and then they argue. Some of them don't even hear it at all. I'm the opposite. I'm in the other camp. I'm on the other side. I listen to it nonstop. And that's where the magic starts to happen. Weaning myself off of Big Pharma was a big one. Tell you a little story here real quick. One day I was late for my meds. What I do, and I'm going to show you my meds and I'm going to share all this. What I do is I take some in the morning and some in the afternoon, twice a day. And I forgot my morning pills because I was rushing around. There was a lot of stuff to do, and I completely forgot about my morning pills. The afternoon comes, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and all of a sudden I hear my voice saying, no, don't take your Big Pharma pills today. Just take your supplements, and that's it. And, you want to argue with that, and it's like, no, take your supplements only, leave your meds for today. And I found myself arguing with myself, and I hadn't said a word. It's all intuition. It's all your intuition talking to you. So I said, okay, fine. I'll start my supplements only. This is how I did it. I've been on my supplements only for the last 3 days, 4 days. No difference whatsoever. No pain whatsoever. And I'm done with my Big Pharma pills for the time being. That's how fast things go, and that's how magical things can get if you listen to what your body's trying to tell you. Um, with a lot of people, it's ego, and it's like, no, 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 I know better. So I was on 3 big pharma pills at that time. And if anybody knows about antibiotics, you're not supposed to be on them all the time, because first of all, it'll destroy your system. It'll destroy your immune system, and it's not going to work. The longer you're on that stuff, the worse it is. So I was on antibiotics, and it was the new kind that they invented, the stronger kind. And I had one big pharma pill for ease of flow for urine, and the other one was to dry out my prostate. Finasteride and tamsulosin, with no side effects, mind you, but they're gone. I'm not taking them anymore unless I absolutely see some change somewhere. Day-to-day observations is also really important. What's going on? Timing when I'm going to the bathroom and when I'm not. When does it hurt more than other times? Why it does? All these things. Paying attention to your body is incredibly important. And I learned that when I was in the hospital. It started that way because I know that a hospital is not a place to get healthy. It'll kill me if I stay there. So I needed to really get better quick, and I did through meditation and whatever. But that's another story. Food intake also. You're sitting in front of the refrigerator open, and you're talking to yourself. You're wondering. My grandmother used to say, if you have to look in the refrigerator with the door open, you're not hungry. So close it, and when you're hungry, you'll know what you want, and you'll go get it. But food intake is important. That old cliche that nobody wants to hear, you are what you eat. It couldn't be truer. And that's something else that I wanted to talk about on this show, because a lot of people say, oh, they take a garbage bag and then they go in the kitchen and they open up the cupboards and they throw everything out. And no, it's a complete radical change of food. And you have to stop eating this and stop eating that and stop eating this. And no, not for me. For me, that wasn't the case. I'm not going to do a rudimentary change because first of all, it doesn't work. If you don't want to do it, and if it's not done properly, it won't last. So no, I'm doing the normal routines, and I'm taking less of stuff that I know is not good for me, right? You love butter, you love cheese, you love bread, you love meat, you love dairy, whatever, but it's all up here. A lot of it is up here. So it's just a matter of, logic, really, common sense, and listening. Learning to unlearn has to do with not arguing with your instinct, with your soul. See, and this is where we start to talk a little spiritual. And it's always the case, because that's always where the source is. That's always where things start. And not arguing with your spirit. If something tells you something, don't argue with it. Just have fun. Start listening to it and see what happens. After 2 weeks of perfectly fine color in my urine, all of a sudden you wake up in the morning, blood clots. 2 blood clots turned the toilet blood red. And I mean blood red, okay? And it's like, okay, after 2 weeks of peeing normally, and I'm on cannabis oil now, and I've been taking SCAT for a while, so that's enough to freak anybody out. You wake up and you have blood clots come out like that, but it doesn't for me, really, because first of all, I don't have any pain, which tells me a whole lot. Second of all, this has been a constant routine, blood clots coming out, because your body has to get rid of them, because they went in there 3 times for the TERP procedure, which I'm going to get into sometime, to explain what they did to me to begin with. So, okay, you have blood clots. No, you're not going to run to the hospital. Just, okay. and you're washing yourself. This is the thing too. I have to wash myself every single time I go to the bathroom, either one or two, every time. And for people who know about absorption, when you put something on your skin, it's the best way to absorb something in your bloodstream, they say. Some people have other ways, but in this case, a good friend of mine is making me the soap that I'm using, and he's putting all kinds of good stuff in it. Like maple syrup is really good for the skin, believe it or not. And there's all kinds of other goodies that he's making because he's making it for me, and there's no lime, there's no unnatural stuff in the soap that's not really good for you. So I'm really blessed there. That's going to make a big difference in healing. But as far as the blood clots go, I just went to the bathroom just now, and it's bright yellow, and it was blood clots this morning. So in some way, you're probably flushing the body out. And I'm going to be chronicling all this, and I'll even show pictures. It will be graphic sometimes, but I'll have a warning in the beginning of the show, and if that's the case. So when you see blood in the urine, you know, like you basically freak out. You start to think, okay, is it diet? Is it activities? Is it stress? And speaking of stress, I really would like to emphasize that, because I just talked about the food, and I just talked about how I'm dealing with my own self, because I know I don't have any pain, so I know it's not something to be frightened about. I need to talk about stress. My left leg is the part of my body that shows the stress the most. When I'm in stressful situations, I'll get water on my knee, they call it. Left side, yep. Oh, that's because it's the side of the heart. That's what I was told by a spiritual advisor. When I was a cameraman, I was hooked up with a real bunch of beeps, okay, and with no respect for anything. And I lived some of the hardest months, 3 months of my life, some of the hardest months of my entire life. I've never worked with people that were that hard to get along with, being nice without judging them. And I developed water on my knee to the point where I couldn't bend it anymore. And the nurse takes out a syringe this big, you know, the big syringes full of water. And I was fine after that. And she looked at me, she said, have you been suffering some stress recently? And I said, yeah. She said, you don't want to keep doing what you're doing. And you're not allowed to give opinions or advice, but she was telling me very nicely, like, get out of what you're doing. But that's for people who are very sensitive also, empaths, whatever you want to call them. That's another word that's been thrown around. So in stressful situations, it's your body talking to you or trying to, but the mind makes excuses and says, nah, it knows better, right? We're living a spiritual battle, basically, good against evil. I know that sounds very cliche, but that's exactly what it is. And the way I explain it is patriarch versus matriarch. And I have a lot of ways to explain that. I use patriarch first because that's what we're living presently. And I can hear people saying, oh, yeah, what's this got to do with healing with cannabis? Well, it's all connected, especially the matriarchal societies. And we'll explain why very briefly. As you'll hear me say, they're trying their best to kill everything natural and everything healing in this world. You might have noticed. And what people like you or me might not know is that we have tremendous power inside of us at our disposal. We need to understand. I said understand one time on a show with two indigenous grandmothers, and they said we use the word inner stand so that it's inside of you and you understand inside. So I'm going to use the word inner stand, and you'll probably know why. And if you don't, you haven't watched the show before. If we listen and we understand that connection that we make within ourselves, we finally see our true potential, and it's endless. It's absolutely endless. You know, the other cliche, people say there is a God. Well, it's inside of us. It literally is inside of us. Some people like the grandmothers, the indigenous grandmothers that I do my show with on Mondays, they talk about frequencies, they talk about energy, and that's what it is, the good and the bad. I have a little story to throw out here for people that don't know about the two wolves. And a lot of people do. Most people do. Well, some people don't. And for the story of the two wolves, basically it's one kid that realizes that, half of him says, yes, mom, I'll do my chores, and yes, I'll be a good boy. And the other side just doesn't want to do anything and rip roaring against everything and rebel all the way and the hell with everybody. And I'm going to do the opposite of what everybody says, and I'm going to create havoc. And he comes to his mom and he tries to explain that to his mom. And she says, there's an elder way on the other side of town, living in that teepee with the white hair. You might want to go talk to him. He goes down and talks to him, and he comes in, and the elder knows why he's there already. He's pulling out his pipe and he scratches his beard, and he tells the boy to sit down. And after the boy explains what the problem is, he says, we have two wolves inside of us. He says there's the bad one that doesn't want to do anything good, that wants to hurt people, that wants to be mean, and that's how he gets his energy. And there's the good wolf that wants to do good, that wants to help, that wants to think of the neighbor and be selfless. And the little kid pauses for a while and he says, well, how do I know which one's going to win? Because it's a spiritual battle between the two. The elder says, it depends on the one you feed the most. And most people have heard this story told. It's the one you feed, but that's not the way my elder taught me. He said it's not that way because you have good and evil all the time in your body. It's the one you feed the most that wins. And also meditation really, really helps to ground if we listen to each other. I'll show my techniques about meditation, and it's awesome. And it works really well because once you open that door, you're going to get more and more things coming in. If you open it in a bad way, Ouija board or something that you don't understand or whatever, or Satanism, or you want to start going down that little happy path, you're going to end up with those very little happy things that you might not be able to get rid of. It's a very dangerous world out there. And if you want to go down the good meditation road, it's the good red road. Just like any other good road, it'll give you good blessings. It really will. And it has for me. And I can meditate my pain if I have about a 7.5 to 8 on a scale of 10. If 10 is unbearable, I can bring it down to about a 3, 3.5, just by meditating, just with my hands, with visualizations and with inner standing. Revisiting, learning to unlearn words. This is something that's going to be fun in this show too. Getting to understand what words mean. And there are people that know so much more than I do. But again, this is not about me knowing it all. This is my little path. This is me, little me, wanting to share what I know. Words like ground, grounding, earthing, Mother Earth, bare feet, the asking, the offering. This is where spirituality saved my life. I saw somebody do a spirit plate one time. Spirit plate. What's a spirit plate? And we're talking about healing with cannabis, and now we're talking about a spirit plate because it's all related. Because what they do is they take a little plate, just like this. They take a little plate. They take everything that they're going to eat at their dinner table. They're going to put it in the plate. Oops, here you go. They're going to put it in the plate. Take a little spaghetti, one piece of spaghetti. Take, for a salad, take a piece of, lettuce, tomato, whatever. You take a little bit of everything you're going to eat. And before the meal, some people do it afterwards. Before the meal, you go outside, you put the plate down by a tree, and just in Mother Nature somewhere, just to say thank you, to give back what nature is giving you. When you start to do stuff like that, and you start to really respect and to pray and to literally cleanse what you're going to eat before you eat, or if you're in that frame of mind, that's a whole different ballgame. That's spirit, that's peace, that's selflessness. It's remarkably healing basically. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm where I'm at right now, because it's thanks to all those things that are mingling together. See, okay, so you take the spirit plate and then you take big pharma. They're polar opposite, one from the other. Everything man-made is poisonous now. I can pretty well say it. Everything, we have to stop. The picture that I'm going to show, it says, we got to stop learning to eat from a box and start learning from nature, to go back to nature and eat from there. I don't remember what the post says, but we're showing it right now. So this is the spiritual side of things that really helped me. How do you perceive your own medicine? Giving thanks, making the medicine myself. I make Essiac tea myself that I drink, which is a cancer fighter if you take it in the right dose. And it's trusting the process. These are all these things, instead of just popping big pharma pills in your mouth and then suffering the consequences or the the secondary effects. I should let people know too that talking like this and doing shows like this and speaking and especially reading like this, these are skeletons in the closet that I'm dealing with on a daily basis to get out of the mental traps and to get out of the cages that people have. We're our own worst enemy. We hide our own biggest problems. And one of mine was being laughed at when I read. When I grew up, I was always being laughed at every time I read something. I was always told, "Oh, you're an idiot. Oh, you can't spell. You can't read." Well, that's what happens. It ends up being, it ends up staying home somewhere. It ends up staying in that little gut somewhere. So what we're going to do now is explain how I do things for my medicine. But before we do that, I just want to explain again, this is my way. This is not the absolute way. It's not for everybody. This is what works for me. And I'm sharing what works for me. This is about learning to unlearn everything that we've ever learned. What a great concept, I said to myself when I started this show. It's like, sharing what I feel can help, plus the supplements along the way that I never even thought of. Some of them I never even heard before. And this is the list shot of my my big pharma meds that I started taking. And it got really interesting too. DHEA, you might want to check that out. That's something that everybody has when they're young. And when they're growing up, it tends to, go down in amount and you lose that. And that's what causes the deterioration of your immune system, and it starts the aging process. I don't exactly know how to say DHEA. I don't even remember what it stands for because it's probably too hard to pronounce anyway. But saw palmetto I'm using also twice a day, which is for the prostate, to help dry it out and to help shrink it in size, because I have the prostate of the size of a 75-year-old right now, and I'm 61. Milk thistle, a very, very good medicine. Again, that's a natural element. Essiac tea, I'm taking for cancer prevention, and I'm doing it in that strength because I worked myself up to it, as I'm doing right now with cannabis. Vitamin B12 complex, which is something everybody should be on. Yarrow, which it grows right outside your door for some of us, which is really good for the urinary tracts. Garlic tablets. Garlic is very, very good, and most Italian kids remember their mother putting their garlic pouch around their neck and, "Mom, that stinks." Ah, shut up, And I'm taking cannabis oil as well. Rick Simpson's oil with THC. I'm taking it, here I was taking it, when that list was made, I was taking it once at night. Now I'm taking it once a day and once at night. So just to explain to everybody on the bottom, which explains how many times a day that I take it. And Essiac tea is another jewel. You really have to, well, see, again, people just throw it in water and follow directions, boil it, and that's it. I pray on it, and I literally smudge over it, which is a cleansing ritual. It's a beautiful, beautiful ritual to follow for people that might know about it. And if you don't, just comment. And this show's going to be better if people ask, what If they ask questions, we can answer them. If we can't, then we'll research it and we'll find the answer together. So from that list, I just wanted to explain how much I cut down. Right now, let me get my list open again here. Right now, I'm on 3 pills, believe it or not, out of all that. I'm only on 3 of them. I ran out of DHEA, and this is at the end of the month, so you have to kind of watch your expenses. So this is the last day of the month for me, so I'll be buying everything back tomorrow. But I ran out of DHEA. I ran out of milk thistle. So, and I also ran out in the middle of the month. I ran out of B12 complex, and I'm taking the rest. So I'm only on 3 of them, and I haven't even noticed a difference at all. Not better nor worse. So this is what I call weaning myself off of big pharma. And if you don't weed yourself off of big pharma, what's going to happen is that it's going to be a lot more complicated, because big pharma is going to give you a whole lot of side effects, and you don't know which side effects are normal and which are not. And there's even big pharma medications that cannot go together, or there's some that cause cancer, or basically most of them do. This is what big pharma does. They want us to focus. How does that mean? Say if people stop getting cancer, we stop getting profits. So we have to make sure that everyone focuses on the cure and not the cause. I think I said that in my last show or in the first one. See, that's what I mean. We're going to be repeating ourselves a lot. And in this meme that we're going to show you here before I take a break and go back to the bathroom, you cannot heal what you refuse to first acknowledge. Okay, and if most of healing has to do with the process, then the process first has to be acknowledged. And my duty here, I think, my responsibility is to share knowledge on what that process is, and it's full of holes. And it's been sickening us all our life. And now, after 45 years old, roughly, I started to say, hey, whoa, wait a minute, this is wrong. And I woke up late. So now I'm doing halfway okay or better than most, because I was careful from the beginning and I did not take anything unnatural if I didn't have to. And I've been smoking since I've been 16 years old or before. So, I've had cannabis in my system for a long time. And ironically, that's probably what helped. So this is Luca Mino signing off, and I want to thank you again for listening and for watching. And tune in next week. We got a whole lot of stuff to talk about, and it's going to be great all the way, every step of the way. Again, this is Learn to Unlearn with Luca Mino, a return to health. We'll see you next week.